Hi, I'm here to present you guys with this build guide for a Shaper inspired build. I wanted to make a build with the new Shaper Beam MTX and the existing Blackhole Frostbolt MTX. I decided to go with a cast wall channeling build that uses Code to Fire support and FDR Fire to make Frostbolt my main damaging skill, converting all of its damage to fire. This build isn't really a fast boss killer, but has fairly decent clear, can be fairly tanky and doesn't really cost much. I leveled this character in SSF and all I have is a tabula, as the build does require 6 link to function well. On top of that, it doesn't seem to have any issues running dells and I've been having quite a bit of fun with it. So let's break down what this build looks like. Your main skill setup for this build should be a Scorching Ray, link to cast wall channeling, Frostbolt, Code to Fire, Elemental Focus, and Control Destruction. For class and ascendancy, I went with an Elementalist for the extra fire penetration when affected by Herald of Ash and the 20% shock effect. And we can still shock enemies with fire damage thanks to Shaper of Desolation's shocking conflux. As I mentioned before, I've been using Herald of Ash, and I also have Arctic Armor and Clarity reserving some of my mana. This build uses Elemental Overload, so I use an Arbor Storms linked to increase critical strikes, curse on hit, and flame ability to both proc EO and curse my enemies. I also have Vortex and Immortal Call attached to cast when damage taken. Vortex here is mostly for the Blackhole MTX, it doesn't really serve much of a purpose, but it does cast on top of your Frostbolts if your mouse is on top of it. So I actually linked it to Culling Strike in case some enemies below the threshold and it just pops it. For my remaining links, I have Val Righteous Fire as a DPS cooldown, linked to increase duration, and I use a Stone Golem for that extra bit of regen. And I've been using Flame Dash for my movement skill, and I have a link to faster casting and blood magic, but any movement skill should work as long as it feels good for you. For the passive tree, I went with Elemental Overload, Avatar Fire, and Mind Over Matter. And Mind Over Matter really works well with Scorching Ray, as Clarity makes my mana regen much higher than the cost I need to keep it up. Also, remember to pop Val Clarity in emergency situations, as it works really well with Mom. For the rest of my skill points, I grabbed the top fire nodes, some fire penetration to the left of the tree, and as much life and mana as I could. And I'll put a link in the description for a paste bin of what I think the final tree should look like at level 90 or so. This build doesn't require many specific items. You do want 2 Frozen Trails for the extra projectiles for Frostbolt, and you need a 6 link. I'm using a tabula for that I just farmed in Blood Aqueducts. If you want to extend this build, you could go for an Unshattered Will for the huge survivability it will give you while channeling. And if you really want to invest in the build, the best setup for it would probably be a 6 link Realmander. And for that you would replace Code to Fire with a combustion support, as the item already gives you Code to Fire. To summarize this build, I had a lot of fun with it. It looks really cool. It looks exactly like I wanted it to look. I went with as many Celestial or Blackhole related MTXs to just make the build look and feel the way I wanted. I don't have much else to add to this build. It's kind of just a fun build. It's not really a build that will kill Uber Elder for you, but it should be able to do Shaper if you invest in a lot of gear for it. I'm in SSF right now. I might move my character to Trade League just to be able to push late game bosses and grab some footage for it. Well, thanks for watching and stay sane, Exiles.